Do you want to stand out in a room? If you do, tell a story. Hey, I'm Dave Martin, and today I'm going to show you how to use storytelling to become memorable, magnetic, and meaningful. Learn how to craft your personal narrative, create real connection, and move from noise to impact, one story at a time. All that is today on the show. Let's get started. Today, we are going to be diving into something that I believe will radically shift the way you build influence, deepen your relationships, and leave a lasting mark wherever you go. It's something that, I just said in a session training on this myself, and it spoke to me, and I said, I've got to include this. So today, we're going to be talking about the power of storytelling, how to make yourself and others more memorable. I'm going to tell you up front, people will forget your title. They'll forget your pitch. They'll even forget your bio, but they won't forget your story. When something's presented, they'll remember 65% of story, 5% of data. So you want to connect the dots in life and in leadership, you got to learn how to tell stories that stick. We live in a data-saturated world. And we've all sat through presentations filled with all kind of stats and graphs. And the next morning, you can't recall any of it. Maybe you took some screenshots, took some pictures of the PowerPoint. But when someone tells a great story, it will stay with you for years and years to come. Why? Because stories don't just reach your mind, they reach your heart. Stories activate emotion. They make you feel something. And when you feel something, you remember it, right? That's why as a communicator, as a leader, as a connector, you need to master the art of storytelling. So, facts inform, stories transform. That's good. You should write that down. Facts inform, but stories transform. So how do you introduce yourself and leave a mark? I call it the 60-second story, right? You only get one shot to make a first impression. You've heard that before. And most people waste it. But here's a tool I love, the 60-second self-introduction. This isn't just saying your name, your job title, and just your LinkedIn or whatever, but it's giving people a reason to remember you. Remember I said, I think it was last week, if you want to be unforgettable, you want to be unforgotten, do something unforgettable. So make your hello unforgettable. I could say, hey, I'm Dave. I write books. I travel. I've been very guilty of this. So tell us about you. I'm Dave. I write books. I travel around a little bit and help people when I can, Well, no. Hey, I'm Dave Martin. I help people connect the dots between relationships and results. Whenever I'm speaking in businesses or coaching leaders or writing books, my heart's to help people go from being stuck to being unstoppable. That's what I do. Oh, that's different than I write some books and I travel around a little bit. Now, that opens doors to more conversations. From being stuck to being, I feel stuck right now. Oh, you do, and all of a sudden now it's open source. Here's the formula, real quick. Tell them who you are, what you do, and why it matters. Okay? Who you are, what you do, why it matters. And then I always like to throw in at the end there a question that engages, that keeps the conversation going. So it's not just introduction, but it leaves with a question that, hi, my name's Sarah, and I help small business owners organize chaos and scale with clarity. I love making systems simple and sustainable. What's one system you're currently that's currently driving you crazy? Well, now you've engaged me. Now, my filing system has been just boom. Now that's the hook. You see, it had all four of those ingredients in there. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. I'm going to encourage you to write your 60-second story this week. Take some time, make it story-based, and then practice it until it feels natural to you, right? Keep practicing it until it feels natural, because everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. So think about that first 60-second story, that introduction. Make it a story. When you learn to tell yours with heart, with honesty, I'm telling you, everything begins to change. Your story isn't just a series of events. It can become a powerful bridge that it connects you between you and people that you're called to impact. When you understand how to share your story with authority, now you can create some action. Now you can inspire connection and open a door for real, what's the word? Transformation. That's what we want to be. I don't want to be a motivational speaker or an inspirational speaker. I want to be a transformational speaker. So how do you craft and share your personal narrative in a way that moves people? Well, you might want to write this down, okay? Number one, you want to identify your pivotal moments. All right, so let's think about a story that you want to share. It could be a story from your childhood. It could be a story about something incredible that happened to you. Maybe your story will be about something tragic that happened and how you turned that around. So identify the pivotal moment, the highs, the lows, the turning points, your biggest lessons. What is it there? Okay, then take time to reflect. Okay, when did your life change direction? What moments tested you? What moments shaped you? What moment awakened something on the inside of you? What victories made you stronger? What defeats taught you something invaluable? Those pivotal moments are the heartbeat of your story, okay? That's where your story begins. That's where your story becomes relatable and real. It's not just a timeline of events. People don't connect with the whole story. They connect with the key moments that matter the most. Second thing I want you to do, once you decide what story you're going to tell, which one was it? Now you want to extract the theme. Okay, what's the theme of that story? Was it a story of faith? Was it a story of resilience? Was it a story of courage, of grit? A friend of mine, she wrote a book with her story, and it talks about grit and grace. That's the theme she wants you to get out of it. Even if someone hasn't experienced the exact same situation you have, they can always relate to the emotion of it, okay? The emotion that you felt, or maybe the lesson that you learned. Maybe the exact same thing didn't happen to them, but they've been at a place where they experienced. Like I could tell the story about when I was shot in the face, right? You may say, I've never been shot in the face. But when I talk about how scared I was and how my heart began to race, and as I saw blood now you can relate to being scared. You can relate to a moment when ask yourself, what theme runs through this part of my story, okay? Was it forgiveness? Was it perseverance? Was it trust? I have a friend that wrote a book about infidelity in her marriage and how she went through that and how she rebuilt trust. And we can all think of a time when our trust was broken, maybe in a business relationship, maybe in a romantic relationship. Redemption. What is it? When you focus on the universal theme, now you make your story, your personal story, their story, right? And stories never go out of style. So that's where real connection begins to happen. And then the third thing, follow the basic structure, okay? Every powerful story has three simple parts. I'm telling you, this is part of networking and making connections. Not just, hey, where do you work? What's your LinkedIn? When you build a connection through a story, it makes all the difference. So three simple parts of a story. Challenge. What obstacle or struggle did you face? What was at stake? What was the challenge? I remember losing everything, sitting in my car think, how could it get any worse? I'm sitting in the car with my son, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, under a tree in a parking lot, and a huge limb falls off the tree and smashes into my car. Could it get any worse? The journey. What steps did you take from that? What at that moment turned things around for you? What battles did you fight? Well, when that tree landed on my car and smashed it and glass everywhere, and I looked, and my little boy at the time was about 4 years old, sitting in the back seat covered in glass, and I thought, I feel like I've lost everything. What hope do I have? But then when my little boy, I looked back and I saw him, and I thought, I have a reason to turn this around. I have a reason to get out of this car and do something. And so what battle did you fight? How did you grow through the process, right? And then, so you got the challenge, you got the journey, and then you've got the resolution. 3 parts of every story, okay? What was the breakthrough? What wisdom did you gain? Well, there's a lot of things more important than a house. My little boy is more important than a house. His future was more important than the bills I couldn't pay at the time. Or how's my life different now? Because of who I became through that time and through that challenge. So if you skip the challenge, people can't appreciate the journey. They don't know where you are at the moment of losing everything. They don't appreciate the journey. If you skip the journey, they won't understand the cost to get to the resolution where everything turned around. Each part plays a role. So take people through it with you, okay? Through those different levels of those different principles or parts of the story. And then here's another real important. Be authentic. Be authentic. People don't need perfection. They just need the truth, okay? They just need your truth. So when you tell your story, don't polish it so much that it loses its power. I've seen people, they've shared their story, they've shared their testimony so many times you don't even feel it anymore. They've got it so polished, they've been through it, they know exactly how to do it. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a magnet for connection. When I tell the story, I feel the story. I don't want it to be so polished, so perfect that I don't feel it anymore, so that there's no emotion in it anymore. Be honest about your struggles. Be honest. Be open about your fears. People don't trust a flawless story. They trust a real story, okay? Your authenticity will build your credibility. I used to hate to cry. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. People are going to think I'm weak if I cry. I found that wasn't a weakness, but it built a credibility. It built a connection. If I made it through it, well, so can you. If I made it through it, it gives permission for others to believe their story can change. Their situation can change, just like yours did. And then, practice your delivery. The story doesn't just live in your words. It lives in your tone. It lives in your pace. It lives in your passion, okay? It's not just what you say, but it's how you say it. Your tone. It conveys emotion. You ever heard that? There's no tone in text, right? I love voice text now. You can actually leave a voice message through a text, and now you can put tone with it. Your tone conveys emotion. Your pace keeps people engaged. Oh, yeah, the other day I got in this car accident, the car hit me, and I got out, and my legs were broken, I got out, but now my legs are fine. No. Pace. Your passion lightens up your words, brings your story to life. So practice telling your story out loud. Feel it. Own it. Let it flow. Let it flow naturally. When you speak from your heart, your story will not just be heard, but your story will be felt. And I want you to know that your story matters. Someone sent me an email this week, shared their story. It so moved me. In an email, I just began to cry just thinking the way they told the story. I could see it. I could picture it. It was powerful. Someone needs to hear what you've been through. Someone needs to hear, because when you share your story with heart, you share your story with honesty, you give hope, you ignite faith, you show people what is possible. So, what I want you to do, I want you to find one story from your life. Mentioned it back a few minutes ago. What's one story? Practice sharing it for 3 to 5 minutes. Get your story down about 3 to 5 minutes. Share it with someone this week. Share it with someone. Maybe it's a happy story. It's fine. Doesn't have to be nothing really. I can share a story about a day on the Disney cruise. Boy, it's the happiest story. It'll move you. It'll encourage you. So your story doesn't always have to be a challenge. It could be an encouragement. But find one story. Maybe it's when your child was born. Maybe it is a challenge that you went through. But stories create connection, not just content. Don't just throw a story in for content. Throw it in for connection. One thing about storytelling, it's not just a branding strategy. It is a human strategy. One thing that AI will never be able to do, it will never be able to replace your story, right? Your story is human. When you tell a story, people lean in. When you share the why, people trust you. When you open your heart, you open a door for someone else to do the same thing, to open their heart. You don't have to be a speaker to use storytelling. You say, well, you're a speaker, that's why you use storytelling. No, networkers use storytelling. You could use stories in a job interview. You can use stories in a board meeting. You can use stories in a one-on-one conversation with your kids or with your neighbor. Stories create connections wherever they're planted. Now, let's talk about, you say in a board meeting, in a business meeting, you can use it. Yeah, let me give you some in your professional life, how you can see professional growth through storytelling. So, leadership. Okay, maybe your best leaders don't just direct, they inspire. They bring you along on the journey. The inspiration many times comes from stories. True leadership isn't just about barking orders and demanding results. True leadership is about rallying people together emotionally, mentally, to believe in a vision that's bigger than themselves. It's about capturing hearts. People don't follow plans, they follow passion. So storytelling gives meaning to the mission. It's not just about, well, do this task. No, this is the impact that we're making together. I was sharing with our team this week the email that I received, and I said, here's why we do what we do. And I began to share the story of the impact that we're making because of what we do. I'm not just say, hey, we're going to make an impact, we got to do this thing. But no, great leaders use stories to paint the bigger picture. Connect people's day to day. Here's what we got to do. We got to set up for this. We got this conference going on. We got to make it happen. But no, there's a larger purpose to why we're doing this. And when you tell the story behind the goal, the why, the mission, the greater impact, now you can turn, as a leader, you can turn employees into believers, customers into fans. You've heard that. Believers into champions. When I coach executives, I always remind them, you don't move people by PowerPoints, you move them by purpose. Tell them how you started. Tell them how about the moment that you knew that you had to make a difference. That's how movements begin. Movements begin with stories. The CEO of leading a hospital, they don't just say, hey, we need to increase patient satisfaction scores by at least 10%. Well, they can say that. Or they could gather their team and share a story about a specific patient whose life was deeply impacted by compassionate care that the hospital provided. So now they've tied the goal to real lives, and they've tied the goal of seeing customer satisfaction go up by 10% to a real change. And now the team isn't just chasing a number, but they're chasing a story of transformation. Does that make sense? Maybe you say, well, what about in branding? How does a story? Well, the best brands tell better stories, right? I mean, that not just what they do, but why they do what they do. A strong brand doesn't just list all the features and all the products. It invites people into a narrative. It shows what the brand believes, why it exists, what emotional transformation it offers to its customers. In a noisy world, a brand is much more than just a logo. Can't be just it's a legacy. People don't just buy products, they buy emotion, they buy mission. That's why Tom's talks about how when you buy a pair of shoes, we give a pair of shoes. And they share their mission. Well, I'm going to buy those because I want to help somebody else. The value behind, you see it so much these days. If you want to build a brand that lasts, you got to become a storyteller of your belief, not just of your business. When I work with entrepreneurs, I ask them, what's the real story that you're inviting customers into? What's the story? If they're a coach, are you selling coaching sessions, or are you offering people tools to finally be able to win in life and live the ultimate life, the best way of living? See, branding is simply storytelling with a strategy. Think about Nike. They don't just sell shoes, right? Their story is about overcoming adversity. It's about chasing your dreams. It's about winning against all odds. Every ad, every slogan, just do it. It reinforces the emotional journey that they're inviting their customers into. And that's why people tattoo the swoosh on their arm, a logo, because they bought into the story of how it makes them feel. It's not about the story that they want to. It's about the story they want to live, not just about the sneakers that they want to wear. Networking. We've been talking about that. Forget the resume rundown. Forget your LinkedIn page. Tell a story that reveals your values, that reveals your drive, that shows your difference. When networking, like I said, back at the beginning, you can rattle off your title, what school you went to, or what degrees. It will quickly become unforgettable. We're not wanting to be, or it'll quickly become forgettable. We're wanting to be unforgettable. So stories, they stick. They reveal who you are behind all the bullet points of your LinkedIn, behind all the bullet points of your resume, your passion, your purpose, your personal uniqueness. Good networking story answers what you stand for. A good networking story answers what you're chasing, what makes you different. Because it's not your similarity to another, it's your point of difference from another that makes the difference. You want people to know what's your difference. And if you want to stand out in a room, lead with your life. Tell the story that shows what you're about. People, like I said, not going to remember your title. They're going to remember how you made them feel. How you made them feel. What you made them believe. I teach leaders all the time when someone says, tell me about yourself. Tell me. Don't just hand them a business card. Remember, back at the very beginning of this, go back and listen again to the 60-second hello, the 60-second story right there at the very beginning. You know, tell a story that shows your passion. I grew up watching my parents struggle. Grew up watching them struggle to live their dreams. And that's why I so much want to help other people live their dream. I want to help other people live lives that they're proud of. Your story is your handshake. So make it strong. Why do I want to see people succeed financially? Why do I teach so much? Because I grew up in poverty. I grew up not having enough, not being able to get the things that I needed. And I don't see anything good, anything great about that. So listen, I'm not just another speaker. I'm someone on a mission. I'm someone that story creates emotional resonance and a memorable connection. Stories multiply impact in leadership, in branding, in relationships. Remember, data informs, stories transform. Okay? Remember that. So, next time you're introducing yourself, don't tell your job title, tell your story, okay? Let me give you the last thing. We got to wrap this up. Oh, and when you tell your story, I know people like this. They always want to be the hero in their story. You don't have to be. Don't be the hero. Be the guide. Don't just be the hero. Be the guide. When you're telling a story, remember, the person listening, you're their guide. I know people like this. They always got a story, and they're always the hero in their own story. You're not going to believe what I did. One time I was doing this, one time guide them. Your story should inspire, but it also should invite. I want to invite you along. Invite them to share. Invite them to dream. Invite them to believe that if you made it, they can too. If you did it, so can they. Storytelling isn't just about being remembered. It's about helping others feel seen. So let me give you a simple framework that I like to use. And I love, if you know me, I like acronyms. So let me give you an acronym for STORY. Okay? 5 letters, 5 little things when you're working on your story. Set the stage, right? Give them some quick context, where they are, what's happening. Don't just dump your life story. Set the moment. Draw people into the scene. It was 2 a.m. or 2 in the afternoon, 2 p.m. I was sitting in my car underneath a tree in an empty parking lot, wondering if my dreams were dead, if I'd ever be able to accomplish, right? I'm setting context. Now, be careful. Don't say, it was 1997 when this happened. Now, if I tell you the year, now I've lost you in the story. Now you're thinking 1997, where was I in 1997? I was 3 years old in 1997. Wonder how old he is. 1997, that was how many years ago? All of a sudden, now you're trying to figure all this out. No, 2 p.m. It could have been yesterday at 2 p.m. It could have been 10 years ago. Understand? So be careful when you're setting the context. And then, so set the stage, tap into the tension, right? Tap the tension. Every good story has some conflict. What's the challenge? What's the obstacle? What's the problem? I'd lost everything. Without a struggle, there's no drama. Without a struggle, there's no, inspiration there. So I lost everything. I lost my job. I lost my confidence. I lost my hope, right? The letter O, own the opportunity. Now, you're going to show the turning point. What realization came to me? What decision? What shift happened? Right there, I decided if I'm at the bottom, I might as well start building something worth climbing for. If I can't go any lower than where I'm at, that shows leadership. It shows your unique angle, okay? And then the letter R, reveal the result. What happened next? How did you overcome? Well, that decision led me to build a multi-million-dollar coaching business that now helps others rise from the lowest moments of their life, to see that they can come back and they can build that setback wasn't a step back. It was just a setup. So then the why is your takeaway. The why is your takeaway. Always connect the story back to your audience, right? What was the lesson for them? What action should they take? Maybe you're sitting there. You feel like you're in a car that a tree just fell on. When you just said, could it get any worse? And a huge limb falls out and smashes your car. But you know what? Your breakthrough starts the moment you choose. I looked back and saw my little boy. I said, I can't give up. I can't quit now, right? So master the art of storytelling. You need just a good little story method. You don't have to be a novelist. You don't have to be a movie star to tell a story. Just set the stage, tap the tension, own the opportunity, reveal the result, and then what's your takeaway? What's your takeaway? So I've told you, share your story with someone else. Let me leave you with this. Every dot in your life is part of your story. Every failure, every victory, every shift, boy, I didn't see that one coming. You ever had one of those? I didn't see that one coming. And when you learn how to connect those dots through storytelling, you become someone who doesn't just speak. You become someone who moves people. You don't become someone that just got a card. You become a connector. You were born. Stop minimizing your experiences. You were born to tell stories. Start magnifying the message, because behind every handshake is a story. that needs to be told. I hope this helped you today. I know today went a little bit longer, but share your story with someone who's still trying to figure out how to tell their story. I'm Dave Martin, your success coach, and I hope today's helped you. Share this with someone else. Make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe. And again, always love to hear from you. But keep telling stories and make people feel something. I love you. See you next time.